know you heard me on the radio. Flexing, she loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K. I know you heard me on the radio. Flexing, she loved the sound of my voice, it's the best thing. Daydreaming of the jazz all day. Pick up the phone late night with Larry K.
Scarlet Knights fans, Night Watch listeners, I am back from my little hiatus. We had the football bye week. I had my little health stuff. I hope you enjoyed the interview with Aaron Brightman of the Scarlet Faithful. If you have yet to listen to it, it'll stay up. It's on the YouTube channel here. If you're listening on the audio podcast, then it's on the audio version on all podcast platforms. If you're watching the YouTube version, please make sure you click subscribe before you leave. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. And do it to celebrate Rutgers' victory today. It's right there. Just click it as you're sitting here watching. Rutgers defeats Wagner 75-52. I have to be honest with you, a ton of fanfare coming into this game, a ton of fanfare coming into this season. The Rutgers Scarlet Knights are ranked number 25 in the country to start the season. There were some concerns, about the lack of a big man, were we going to get out rebounded, things like that. At the end of the day, I was really, to be quite honest with you, with Ace Bailey sidelined, he's day-to-day with an injury. Quite frankly, I was really impressed with this team. Not that I thought I wasn't going to be impressed. I obviously thought I was going to be impressed with all the fanfare, the players we got coming in. But honestly, the way this team played as a unit, the way almost every player on that court seemed like they could create their own shot. And shout out to my boy Cheney, telling me he's right. They could all create their own shot, and they could make their shot. And I was really, I think, impressed maybe the most with, the defensive effort. Not that I thought they wouldn't give defensive effort, but when you have such a talented team like that and guys want to score points, sometimes the defensive end is not what you would want it to be. But it seems like guys are really buying in to the Steve Peichel philosophy, and the defensive effort was there all game. I thought it was really good. Now, some points where I was like, ooh, I wish we were hitting the boards a little harder, and I think getting into Big Ten play, and as we go through this season, there's going to be games where, we wish we were crashing the boards a little bit better. But overall, I didn't think we did a bad job in that regard either. I liked kind of how guys had a variable skill set, how they could, move to different positions and kind of rotate really efficiently when they had the ball, given just the sheer size of some of these guys and the ability of the big guys to play on the outside, whether that's from a ball handling standpoint or from a shooting standpoint, and even those guys to be able to guard a bunch of different guys. There's a lot of versatility on this team, and when all parts are hitting the way they're hitting, it's just really fun to watch. Granted, this is a Wagner team here. This isn't, like we're in Big Ten conference play or in the tournament right now. But Wagner was an experienced team coming into this game, so if you were looking for any, early season jitters from the freshmen or anything like that, we surely did not see it today. One thing, we saw some missed shots and a little bit of stretch in the first half, but unlike previous seasons when we're going through scoring droughts and you just really feel like we're not going to get a basket to fall and nothing's clicking, we can't find a shot, we can't create a shot. Unlike those seasons, even in the drought today, I didn't feel like we were, struggling to get there. I think we were just, maybe not as smart with some of our shots, maybe just, bad ball luck a little bit, but then we quickly recovered from that. You end the half on a 30-plus to 9 run or something like that. Just astounding play in that regard. And this is what you want to do at home early in the year against Wagner. 28 for 55 from field goals, so over 50% from the field, which is nice to see. We've had some games in previous years where we were struggling mightily from the field. So over 50% is nice. Three-pointers, 7 of 23, shooting 30%. 12 for 21 on free throws, so 57%. That's still got to be better. It started off looking good, and everybody has decent form on their free throws. Everybody can do it, but we kind of struggled to see towards the second half there, missing free throws. It's got to be better when you get into competitive games and you have that much talent and guys are going to hack at you. You got to sink free throws. I hope that's not going to be a problem. I don't think it's going to be a problem, although even when we get guys who are good free throw shooters, it seemed to be a problem for Rutgers. So let's hope that it's not. 41 rebounds, 41 to 44 total rebounds, 6 offensive rebounds, 35 defensive rebounds. So defensive boards really not that bad. It was 35 defensive rebounds to 14 for Wagner on the offensive glass. You might want to see that come up a little bit, but that's really not bad. Offensive rebounds, 6 to Wagner's 30 defensive rebounds. I mean, that's not a terrible day on the glass, but given the size of that team and given our talent level, I think you'd want to see the glass get crashed, at a high level. But it seemed better than it did against St. John's on the eye test anyway, right? It seemed like guys were getting themselves in position, fighting for the ball, getting in the air for the ball, and coming down with it. Do I think that's going to be a strong part of this team going forward? I don't think so. I think it's something that'll always be a little bit of one of the things we have to work on. But if we can just improve it, marginally as we go through this thing, incrementally as we go through this thing, and just give maximum effort, it's something that, given our scoring ability, given our ability to guard, on the perimeter and guard really almost every position on the floor, we should be able to get past. But it may rear its head at some point. The other thing that might rear its head is obviously defense in the post, which we didn't really have to deal with as much today. But we'll see how that goes as we get into the Big Ten. Obviously Ballo is now in the league, and some of these other guys in the Big Ten. It's going to be something to keep an eye on. So 17 assists, just 4 blocks, 7 steals. I mean, like I said, the defensive effort was there. The defensive effort was there today. It was really nice to see. Only 9 turnovers, 13 fouls to 20 fouls. Looking at player stats, so Dylan Harper, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 20 points. Really good debut for Dylan Harper. Like I said in the exhibition game, he just already looks like a man. He looks like he can play college ball, and he's arrived physically. It doesn't look like he needs any time to adjust physically at all. And whether that's looking at him in the eye test against other guys on the court, or whether that's just looking at him in general, the young man is ready for prime time in Big Ten college basketball, as far as you can tell. 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 20 points. Just some excellent moves, some real persistence. Some nice passes, really good defensive effort. I liked what I saw from Dylan playing defense there. When I'm just following him around the court, he's given maximum effort on the perimeter. He's doing his best to guard guys out there. It's great to see. Jeremiah Williams, 10 points. I thought he had a good game. Getting behind the defense for fast points and fast break points. We were creating a lot off of the steals and off of the turnovers and running the floor and getting guys behind the defense to score easy buckets. That keeps things flowing. That keeps the defense churning. One thing about when you want to play high energy, consistent pedal to the metal defense is you have to feed off the energy on both sides of the floor, or it starts to get hard to maintain that level of effort. And we were doing a good job of doing that. I thought Jeremiah Williams was especially instrumental in that a few times. Durkak, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 8 points. You like the game from him. He started. Zach Martini, 8 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. You're going to have this platoon rebounding thing, I think, throughout the season. So it's nice to see guys, getting that number of rebounds in there and splitting it up a little bit. And guys also creating outside of that with their shots and their moves. It just gives a lot for teams to have to account for, and it's going to be fun to watch. Agbole, only 1 rebound, started the game. Obviously, and they were remarking on the broadcast, physically imposing player, one of our biggest players, but I still think there's work to do there. I think a guy like Martini, he's not necessarily the guy you want at the 5 with the way he plays, but he's got the experience and he's got the certain skill set who he's going to get minutes. And you'd want Agbole to get to a point where you can have him in there for some stout defense in the post and a presence on the boards, especially when you're going against guys that are big, guys that are, going to have a dominating presence there and given, different matchup issues. But it remains to be seen. He's still got some development to do. You had Somerville. So Latham Somerville. We had heard, all offseason, this is the big man of the future. This is a player of the future. This is a really good get for Rutgers, as we knew based on his ranking coming in. But there was discussion as to, did we not go into the portal for a 5 because Somerville wanted to be that guy, because, we didn't want to bring in somebody to take away from those minutes, or look like there was some question as to how quickly he would get into the rotation, whatever the speculation was there. I was really, really impressed with Somerville's play. This is, and they remarked on the broadcast, this is a guy who, if Dylan and Ace, take the next step sooner rather than later, and either way, even if they're here, this is a guy who is a really, really talented ball player, and it's evident. When I talk about Dylan being able to just walk in and he looks like he belongs, same can be said for Somerville. Just the way he plays ball is so fluid, right? He can handle nicely. He can shoot well. He looks like he just has good control of his body, of the way he's making moves close to the post or further out in the perimeter. And we've heard this, right? That despite his size, he's not the traditional, 5 guy who's going to be consistently in the low post and constantly, around the rim that way. He's got a more diversified game. He likes to play almost like a smaller forward, shooting the ball and a little bit further out from the hoop. He's a freshman. And that's his game now. Imagine if he develops that type of game where he can dominate inside, low, and further out. You have a player who, if he sticks around and he develops, who could really become the focal point star of this team, when these other guys, and if these other guys make moves. I was really impressed when he was on the floor. There was a considerable boost, especially in the offensive side of the ball when he was out there. So it's going to be, and for him, 8 rebounds, so the most rebounds on the team. So all this talk about, yes, maybe he's not the traditional 5 or this or that. He's still got size, and he still comes down with the most rebounds on the team. 1 assist and 11 points. So, it's going to be interesting how this thing develops, especially with the guys playing the 5, the 4, etc., because you have a lot of wiggle room. You got the ability to play small ball, but you got the ability to open things up with a different type of scheme and system than we might be used to, maybe than the Big Ten is used to. And you have a guy who's really got a diverse skill set, and if he could start working into that, and he's getting you a substantial amount of rebounds, and he's playing like that big player that he is, you might alleviate some of the concerns that people might have had about the post play and the play down low. Just really nice debut for him. I'm very excited to see what more we get. PJ Hayes, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 12 points. These guys, they were all contributing. And any one of these guys got the ball in their hands. Any one of these guys puts a shot up, and you're excited. You're confident. You're liking what they're doing. Acuff gets in there later on, and I liked his effort. He was ready to play. 3 rebounds, 3 points, with a nice shot he had towards the end of the game there, 2 assists. So you're going all the way deep into this bench. And I don't even want to call it a bench. These guys are legitimate guys who transferred in here, who in their previous spots were focal points, a lot of them. And you're going deep into the bench, and Ace isn't even playing. And these guys can all play ball, man. They can all play ball. And I know that the opponent is what it is, right? But we've had previous years where you're looking at the opponent. And by the way, Wagner had some good players on there. Some kids that really, I thought, looked nice out there, had good moves, and were able to put the ball in the hoop. So not to take anything away from those young men. But, we've looked at ourselves when we're in these games before, and that's what you're supposed to do. Look at yourself. How are you performing? What do you think of your performance? And we've had questions sometimes, especially when Pike is trying to move things around and try different lineups and give guys different, minutes and different minutes at different positions. We've had questions, and I'm not saying that there aren't things to dissect, and there's not questions here, but every one of these guys can play all the way down, and they can play a multitude and in a myriad of ways. And so it's just nice to see, and there's a confidence level with this team. There's a confidence level with the staff, I think, and there's a confidence level that I had as a fan watching these guys play, that I had confidence in any one of those guys to do the right thing with the ball, to make a shot go in, to create a shot for them. It was just great to see, and it was really encouraging. Going to be a really interesting year when you have just this multitude of athletes, really good athletes all over the court that can do so many things. And we saw Ace too, and Ace is a monster with the ball. We saw him with St. John's. I just hope when Ace is back too that we see this same amount of guys taking charge at different times of the game. Everybody trying to get a good shot. The defense has so much to worry about that there's always going to be one of these guys who's going to get an open look, and they can all sink it. So as long as they're moving the ball around and doing those things, it's going to be a lot for defenses to handle. I mean, I'm just really impressed that we saw all of this, and that was before Ace was even playing. So I really like the showing. Let's take a deep breath. It's Wagner. It's the first game of the season. It's, at home. It's a Wednesday night in November, early November. There's a long, 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 long way to go. So let's not start going crazy yet. There's a lot of competition in conference. There's going to be a lot of tests in the out-of-conference schedule. And it's going to take a lot to get where this team wants to try and go. Let's take it one game at a time. Let's continue to see this team gel. Let's continue to see them work out things they have to develop. It's still a young team. It's still a team that hasn't played as much together yet. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. Let's wait and see what happens. But it's nice to see so far. And I'm excited about it. Next up is St. Peter's on Monday. That's also a home game. Then you have Monmouth that following Friday. I may get out to the game Monday. We will see. I will definitely be at the game on Friday against Monmouth. I'm bringing the lady out. We're going to make a Friday night out of it. Maybe stop in New Brunswick. You know how that goes. That's going to be a real good time. And then, we have a nice little home stand in November, and then we go on the road to Kennesaw State before we take on Notre Dame at home on the 26th. So, and then you got some tests. You got to go on the road. You got Alabama. I think that's part of. We have some stuff going on in November. So. It's going to be interesting, right? And we've built in some of those tournament things and stuff to try to get our strengths of schedule and get us out there early, which I think is the right move, but not too early. We have this nice homestand, work out the kinks, get things figured out, and then go out there and do what you have to do before conference play. So, exciting day all around for Rutgers basketball. Rutgers football, guys, this Saturday at noon. This 4-game stand. I can't call it a stand because it's not all home, but this 4-game little stretch is make or break for Rutgers football's season. It's make or break for Rutgers football's season. You started the year 4-0. There was a whole lot of fanfare for this team. And a bunch of guys come back. And you think you're heading the right direction because you pull off the win at Virginia Tech, and you think you shot yourself in the foot in the second half of that game because you look so good early. It looks like you should have really ran away with the game. So there's a lot of encouraging signs. And you come home and you win a game against Washington, who had walloped you last time you played, who was the national championship runner-up last year. You do it at home in a great night game with a bunch of fanfare, a great production on the field, and things are looking really, really good. But then you follow that up with a really disappointing loss on the road at Nebraska where, in hindsight, you really could have and should have pulled that game off. It would have changed the entire trajectory and feel of the season. And even if you still lost to Wisconsin and subsequently had some trouble, at least you got one of the monkeys off your back and you beat Nebraska on the road. They had every chance to do it. The defense held Nebraska to 14 points. Had every chance to do it and just couldn't get it done. Then you come home and you just get destroyed. You get absolutely taken apart by Wisconsin. And I don't know if the Nebraska game kind of, took something out of the team. I don't know if the Wisconsin game is what did it, where they would just realize they were still relegated to a certain tier maybe, and they just didn't have all their guys with all their legs under them to contend as the year went on. I don't know what it was, but, you follow up Wisconsin with losing to UCLA, which was a game I think most people thought we would win going into it. And UCLA, one thing UCLA and Wisconsin had in common was speedy guys in the perimeter, playmakers, athletes, both on offense and defense, who just could out-talent Rutgers, which was really disappointing to see. It was disappointing to see that the coaching staff didn't seem to have any other answers. It was disappointing to see that that's kind of how we wound up in general. It really was. So at the end of the day, it's just tough. It's tough with the football team. And now we have Minnesota after a bye week. It's got a lot of storylines, right? A lot of crossover. Ethan Kaliakmanis obviously was with the Gophers, and now he's with Rutgers. And the coaching turnover, Harasimiak, and then the linebackers coach is the DC there, and all the back and forth with Minnesota. Obviously, Fleck and Schiano and their history and everybody's history. They got to be able to get up for this game. It's at home. And listening to the Rutgers rant guys, they made the comment, and it's true. If Rutgers wins this game, you have a real shot with 3 games left and 1 game to get to a bowl game where you can really win one of those 3 and you can get yourself to a bowl game, and this season can be salvaged to some extent, and you can get back to the drawing board in the offseason and try to figure out your next step. But if you lose this game to Minnesota, it's looking much more bleak to win 2 out of 3 down the stretch to try to get bowl eligible. And that's actually true too, because Minnesota's not a bad team. Illinois is really not a bad team at all this year. You got Michigan State, and you have Maryland, and you're assuming, well, Maryland doesn't look great out of those 4, but Maryland has had our number consistently for the past several years, and Maryland is one of those teams with talented skill guys on the perimeter who can make plays, and so those are the type of teams that Rutgers tends to struggle with. So if you're going to pull one out, maybe it's Minnesota, where even though they may be a better team than you and they are favored by 6, so it's not looking great for Rutgers. The odds makers sure don't have a lot of faith in Rutgers right now. That's just under a touchdown, 2 field goal loss at home. You might be able to pull it out because of the style of play. It's not like there's some insane mismatch anywhere on the field that you cannot in any way overcome. But Rutgers is banged up, man. The injuries that Rutgers has sustained in football this year have been really tough and really difficult for them to absorb. I think when you're looking at things like the offensive line and you're looking at recruiting classes, you got to look at that vaunted 2022 class. And I want to write about this for the College Huddle. And by the way, go ahead and check out the College Huddle and subscribe to the College Huddle. I do write for them. I am affiliated with the College Huddle. I don't mention it quite enough, but it's been a great resource. It's why I wind up with guests a lot from other schools and things too. But now I forget kind of where I was in that, talking about the College Huddle. I was talking about the recruiting class and the fact I was going to write an article about the 2022 class. That was the vaunted class where Greg was supposedly really hitting his stride. Fran Brown was out there. We were going really good in the recruiting trail. And you had guys like the linebacker from Philly gets kicked off the team. You have 3 really highly touted linemen, offensive linemen that should have been coming into their own this year and stepping up for the injured guys who all had to medically retire. DeCroce and Allen, the number 1 player in New Jersey, Monegro, these guys had to medically retire. You had a very talented 4-star receiver who never made it to Rutgers at all. And that particular class that was right where that enthusiasm, that brand new pizzazz that coaches get when they come in, that everybody celebrated Schiano's recruiting class there, really hasn't panned out for a number of reasons, mostly just bad luck. And so you're seeing that void in the team right now. And although the class that came in just before that, the 2 classes are right at the end of the Ash era and the transition, and in the first class that Schiano was able to pull together a lot of guys that are really good contributors there. You know, Manungai and these other players, you know, Loyal and these other guys who have become starters on the team. You know, that those guys have developed the way you would hope they develop from kind of, you know, talented pups who maybe weren't highest ranked guys but were pretty touted, like these guys are ball players, have developed into those hard-nosed Schiano Rutgers ball players. And they were the guys who were really headlining this team and supposed to headline this team this year. And then they get injured, and now the guys behind them who are supposed to step in, they're just not cutting it because there's a gap behind them because that really good class never really panned out, and it's been really gutted in a lot of ways. So it's just an interesting, you know, now the young guys that are here, the freshmen, you have the incoming class, they're very talented, and you see because they're starting to play. But it's just a rough year overall, and we're banged up. We're banged up, and it's going to be hard to pull it out. But I really think it's important for the trajectory of this program. I really do. It's important to get to a bowl game. You got to get to a bowl game at the bare minimum here. You got to do it. And I'm not saying that I'm very confident in Saturday, but I'd love for it to happen. I'd really love to get another win in Piscataway. I haven't seen one in it's been over a month. Please give us a win. There's only 2 games left at home, and I want to see a win. It's a nice little noon tailgate. It's a quick one. It's a Saturday. You got the rest of your day to enjoy it if they win. I'm hoping for a win. It's not going to be easy, but I am hoping we get there, guys. And it's tough to break it down and discuss it all and all that with where, you know, the basketball team is, and then everything else going on in the world, and the fact that our team has kind of been on a downward trajectory this year, which has been tough to deal with. But Minnesota's favored. They've been an on and off team this year. They've shown flashes of being formidable. They've looked at other times not as good. It's a game we can play in, but will we? You know, we will see. They start the season losing to UNC in a close game. They obviously dominate Rhode Island, beat Nevada, and then Iowa beats them handily, 31-14. Michigan beats them, and Michigan has not turned out to be a very good team this year at all. So Michigan does beat them, but Michigan was home. They take care of USC, Minnesota. They take care of USC at home, 24-17. They take care of UCLA on the road, traveling not as far as us, but traveling out west there. They dominate Maryland at home, and then they beat Illinois, who's a good team. You know, so on the road. You know, so Minnesota, you know, for all the talk earlier in the year preseason that Minnesota might be struggling, Fleck had a little bit of a rough year last year. But they even rebounded from that, you know, last year. You know, beating Bowling Green in the bowl game. You know, they're a formidable team. They're a team that's on a little bit of a hot streak here after winning last week, and I think it's going to be a really tough game for Rutgers. I think it's going to be a really tough game, and you know they're on a winning streak. They're playing good. they're going to have to be a little confident, and Rutgers is going to have to come up with something that they figured out over the bye week that's going to do something defensively. Because I think on offense we might be able to hang, and that's the good news, right? This isn't a team, by and large, even though they've put up points on teams, right? I mean, they put points up on teams. They put 48 up on Maryland. It's not like they don't put points up. But if Rutgers can hang with them offensively, I think we've shown the ability to play offensive football and to be able to hang a little bit. It's that the defense cannot stop anything. So if the coaching staff has figured out something, anything, to do something on defense to improve, our performance just a little bit, maybe Minnesota comes in on a noon kickoff, feels a little confident, lets the game get away from them a little bit. Maybe Rutgers comes out fired up with a good game plan, a little bit more rested from the bye week, even though, from what I understand, not a ton of guys are going to be 100% just because of the bye week. These are lingering injuries. But even just a little bit more healthy than we've been, a little bit more rested than we've been, with a bit of a game plan, maybe we can catch them sleeping and beat them. But it's going to be a tough game. I hope to see you guys there. Basketball season's on a roll. We got 3 more football games at least. Let's hope we get the 2 and get to a bowl game. It's been a little disappointing, but it's still been fun. That Washington game was a lot of fun, and we are still here for you on Night Watch to talk about Rutgers all the time. Make sure you check out that Aaron Brightman interview. I hope you enjoyed it. Click that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. It's right. Just click. Oh, wait a second. Click that subscribe button. Get us to 1,000 subscribers. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, you can also get this as an audio podcast anywhere you get your podcasts. Just search Night Watch Larry K on any platform. If you're listening to the audio version, remember that you can get this on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, Night Watch Larry K, and you can watch the video version of this, and make sure you subscribe while you're in here. Guys, it's been a pleasure as always. I will see you at the game on Saturday, and I will talk to you about the basketball game early next week. Go Rutgers. Larry K. out.